in Italy is like this. We are capitalistic, but we think that the political material is not ethic to put in the market. So, for the Italian material, for example, you cannot find a lot of things.
Well, where is it then? Where does it go?
Private house, and sometimes they put in the trash after they die. So it is a problem because okay, I agree that maybe it's not very ethic to put political material in the market, but then
but why?
How
Tell me, I'm curious. Why would that?
Because they say that it's like to sell the life of people, to sell the life of these people that have fighted, have lost their lives also. To put in the market is something that I don't think is a lack of respect, they think.
But I would imagine that
I don't think so, but they say like this.
I would imagine that it can be a very thin criteria of where the political begins, you know? Because a lot of the materials I've already seen, and it's very little compared to how much you have. Even some of the very playful things have, certainly in retrospect, political potential to them, you know?
Naturally.
Just the idea of two men having embraced lovingly and intimately and that been captured in a photograph and that photograph reproduced, risking a lot to have even done that is essentially a political act.
Yeah, but I don't know if in Holland is the same, but in Italy there is a big division, no? A division between right people that sometimes are very Catholic, very conservative, and left people that sometimes are as some kind of old communist ideas.
Do you think, or maybe how would you imagine your archive and the way the archive is established relates to this? Because you do go online, you do go through the books, you do go through to the trade fairs, looking for it. Like you say, some things you cannot find, unfortunately. Because of this sort of political awareness and keeping it.
Exactly.
So how do if you're thinking about like
if you think like this, you generally these people they establish if they want to build an archive, they like establish contacts with other archives and they make like trades, exchanges without paying. Like, for example, I have these in 2 copies. I give you 1 copy. Give me.
You have that in 2 copies.
Yeah,
one.
Exactly.
This is. I'm asking. Is that maybe the most preferred way to do it?
Yeah, but by me also. But
but this is what I mean by you. I'm asking you personally.
By me. No, my most preferred is buying.
Just buying it.
Buying. Yeah.
And why, if I may ask?
Because many archives are not very kind. Italian archive. If you tell them, I have many double copies of material I can give you, have you got other double copies? Then they are not very kind to you. What you are asking? No, like this. We are an archive. We don't give anything.
A lesbian what? Sorry?
Is a very... you see that there is this older woman that tried to kiss this another, no? And Also, in this case, generally, the postcard was made for heterosexual men. This is interesting because it is not homoerotic, this postcard. It shows the scandal of two women embracing together. So it is not, it is different to the other that they show like human quite in a sensual way, you know. Claire Waldorf was one of the most famous artists, singer in the Weimar period Berlin. She was proudly lesbian, and she was not really drag king, but she liked to dress very, very masculine. A very famous and important person because she never regret her sexuality. It was very popular with lesbians in the 30s and 40s.
Similar to the story of the Strand in London, perhaps.
Yes, the story is similar because this place was inside a quite famous hotel, so it was a quite safe place to meet for queer people.
And when you say queer club, it's then also for both sexes. Together
Yes,
at the
exactly.
same time.
When I say gay club, is because it was only for gay men.
Yeah.
When I say queer club, is because both men and women went there.
And not necessarily on different nights or something like this, but together.
No, generally they have different spaces. For example, in this place, the ground floor was for men and the upper floor was for women.
With separate entrances?
No, the same entrance, but there was a stair, and maybe they see each other sometime, but they have separate rooms. But this is, I think that the worst period of separation between men and women was the 70s and the 80s.
Why is that?
Because the sex club started, and the most of the sex clubs were only and specifically for gay men. It was impossible for a woman to go inside, and there were not also separate rooms, one for women and one for men. Only
Just
for
men.
Yeah, yeah. When become the leather culture, no, the Tom of Finland style, a lot of clubs really were very strict. They really didn't want women. And also women, maybe in this period, they were very critics with these kind of clubs because a lot of lesbians were inside the feminist movement, and the feminist movement sometimes didn't like the business of sex.
As in the club,
As-
attaching it to club culture.
Yeah, they didn't like, for example, pornographic movies or pornographic magazine. They didn't like that there were clubs where you can go inside and fuck each other.
So the idea of exploitation. in a way.
Exactly, exactly. But I mean the feminism of 40 years ago, because now the feminism is very changed. Now there is a new feminism that is positive with the pornographic, with the sex clubs. But at that period, there was a quite big separation. I think that things are changed quite a lot in the movement. And first, to find material of the movement of now, first thing, I don't pay, naturally. I search with people, living people. I go to the events. No, I try to find the flyers, for example.
So you do actively collect also from now?
Yeah, naturally.
Okay.
Because I am also an activist.
Exactly.
So,
but this is a little bit why I'm asking, like this. This is maybe where the question goes, where the activism is pulling, and the collection is following, or where the collection sometimes finds its sensibility in pulling, in order to know to keep the activation moving.
For example, now I have changed also my kind of activism, and so I have changed also the material that I search. Because 20 years ago, I described myself as a gay activist. Now I describe myself as a queer activist. In the sense that I feel that gay men, lesbian, bisexual, transgender people, non-binary, we are, I think, in the same boat. We find against the patriarchy, we find against the a society that doesn't like us in the same way, and I think that to be together maybe is a stronger way to fight. To be alone, the gay people alone, the lesbian alone, and maybe they fight each other. No, I think that the movement is less powerful. There are third sex people. In India, in some part of Pakistan, they always have had a third sex. So transgender people, they feel both men, they feel both woman. They call the jira. These are part of this
the
gira. Yeah. Ansi Sturm was called the Miss Eldorado because she was the most important female impersonator of the Eldorado Club in Berlin. Eldorado was the most important queer club in Berlin. And the funny thing is that in the other side there is the...
So it makes it very special.
Yeah, exactly.
And the year that she was at her height?
From 1926 to 1932, 33. Yeah. Then she disappeared completely. We really don't know the complete biography of Hansi Sturm.
This?
This is a cross-dressing duo of the Weimar period Germany. There were quite a lot of these in the Weimar period in Germany.
Of these duos?
Yeah, duos or 3 people or 4 people, and maybe there was the woman dressing like men and the man dressing like woman. In this case, I think that this one was a man, and this one also a man dressed as a woman. And it was quite famous. I found quite many postcards of this duo.
This duo specifically? Or
Of
just
this
duos?
duo specifically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some comic artists.
Okay.
They try to dress like human, but not to be like human, to make people laugh. Was a female impersonator that became very famous in the USA because was one of the first queer activists in the USA and also one of the first Afro-American activists in the USA. There is a very big history behind this person.
And what year is this?
I think.
I mean, the relevance of this person also. The name of the person, do you remember?
The name. I have to find. Oh, okay. William Dorsey Swan. We go from female impersonator to the first example of drag queens. You know, they are different because female impersonator tried to be exactly like a human. Drag queens try to put some camp or some kitsch elements to be more grotesque.
Are there any discussions concerning this subject?
Oh, a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. Yeah. You mean discussion like books?
I mean also maybe like a disagreement on where the one begins and the other one does, you know? Or is it always a self-professed? So someone proclaims themselves to be the drag queen, a drag queen, which means that they admit or they acknowledge the camp aspect that's involved.
Yes, the drag queen is...
A female impersonator is exactly that word, the impersonation of a woman.
Yes, you cannot really see sometimes they try to seem perfectly like a human with no grotesque elements, with no how can I say fantastic elements. No, the drag queen try to put some kind of fantasy, some kind of other not realistic elements.
And is transvestite the same as female impersonator?
Transvestite
That's a third category.
No, is another category.
Okay. And how does this one?
Transvestite is someone who like to dress. You can be a transvestite also. I can be. We make a party, and we dress like human, and we are in this case part-time transvestite, or there are full-time transvestite. But the word transvestite is no more used. They prefer the cross-dresser.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, if I may, just to understand the categories, you have female impersonator, cross-dressing,
Cross-dressing,
and drag queen.
drag queen, and but cross-dressing, it is not generally no, it is not a category referred to an artist.
Yeah.
It is a category referred to a person that in the life like to dress.
It describes the performance rather than the artistry. Of just having.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other two are referred to the artistry.
And this is enters the world of.
Yeah, is one first soft example of drag queen, because you can see there is a very strong makeup. The the hair are not so perfect, no, and there is a kind of I don't know how to call this one.
Like maybe a brooch in the hair, or
Yeah, but
hairpin.
Yeah, but it's not like she is not trying to copy a real woman, but she's making like a fantasy, her personal fantasy. You can see the name of the art director. I cannot see.
The art director is James Journey.
Yeah. And it was like a performance collective based in San Francisco in the 60s and in the 70s. And they make like performance in queer clubs or performance in some stage theater. Similar to the Coquettes. You know the Coquettes?
No.
The Coquettes was a queer collective in San Francisco where there was a lot of gender bending, like men with mustache and bear, but very with a lot of makeup and dressed in some part with the human dress, in other parts with men dress. They want to mix the things, and this collective also was similar. They mix
Also the sort of
gender.
like religious with the pagan kind of.
Exactly. It was also because a lot of religion symbols has become camp symbols also. You know the camp, no?
Sure.
Because they are so sometimes so baroque, so kitsch, no? So they became like very used in the camp iconography. Some years ago, I bought some gay magazine from a Amsterdam seller.
Okay.
This seller sent me also this postcard with the magazine and say me, oh, you know, in the 70s and the 60s, these singers were popular with the gay men.
Did he give any reason, or
Maybe they only like
the way they look?
the way they look, yes.
In Amsterdam, or in the
In
Netherlands?
Holland, in the Netherlands, yeah.
The Blue Diamonds.
Yeah. I think that there are less projects intended only to some specific part, only to gay men, only to lesbian. Maybe if you talk about a specific part of the past, maybe you can talk only of gay men or lesbian. For example, if we now talk about the merchandising of the 50s and the 60s, this kind of merchandising was specifically for gay men. I
There was no similar merchandising for women.
never found.
No.
No, never.
And there was no trans community yet.
No, yes, for trans, yes. There were some kind of, catalogs of human, of clothing for human, specifically for trans people. And some maybe some records also, some records with the trans subject. And but the kind of distribution was different because the material, the merchandising for gay men, they were especially distributed, not distributed, sorry, they were advertised in a physic magazine.
Ah, right.
Okay. The material for trans people maybe were advertised in some magazine that were for trans people, like Crossdresser magazine. There were not really trans people in the modern sense that we think today. Trans people magazine in the 50s and 60s. Generally, the magazine were for cross-dresser, yeah, that are trans people but are not transsexual. One example of a USA publication, which was a catalog to sell material expressed made for LGBT people, not only gay, because, for example, there were like a transvestite magazine and lesbian. I don't think, but transvestite and gay, and they advertise a lot of things, records, movie, and this small sculpture, very kitsch. This is Style Your Hair. I think a small booklet with the hair style. This,
For the man.
yeah. This, yeah. It's quite interesting. They advertise also directories. That these directories they put like the queer clubs for every city in the USA. These they put
Your picture on the rubber stamp.
yeah, exactly.
Super.
Who
wouldn't want to have that?
I don't know.
I wouldn't mind having that. I mean, maybe not my picture, but
Venetian.
Yeah.
You can read here what is
A fine combed cotton knit T-shirt
Ah,
inspired by
t-shirt.
the Venetian gondolas.
Yeah.
Yeah. You too can be a Venetian in America.
You see me as a Venetian?
No, that's a way to say it out loud. Like,
Ah, okay.
you too can.
Okay. Yes.
That's my commercial
Like,
voice.
yes, exactly. Record recording studio that was based, if I remember well, in Los Angeles, but I am not sure, which was the Camp Records. So it was referred to the camp, no? And they made records only for queer people, so gay and transvestite, transgender people too.
Music.
Yes, they were like humoristic songs, very very gay, very camp, with some double sense words, no? These jokes. And these they were advertised in this kind of publications. And so you can see also the titles. The Queen is in the Closet, Mixed Nuts, Made About the Boy. Then there is another one that I have bought recently. Old-fashioned bulls.
Straight to the point.
Incredible. Exactly. Exactly. And this one also was very advertised in this publication, but it is not a record. It is in the shape of a record, but it is like a present, a birthday card. See?
It's beautiful.
Yeah. I like the socks.
I like the foot and the leg.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, very nice. Then this one was a fashion factory in Los Angeles that made fashion, especially, not especially, because everyone could wear, but they advertised a lot in a gay publication. So in their mind, the public, the customer was gay. And they made everything from trousers.
The same three models.
Sorry?
The same models throughout.
Ah, yes. Terrible.
This is nice.
Yeah, we are in a different period than here.
Yeah.
Here we are before Stonewall.
Mm.
Here we are after Stonewall.
Why is that relevant?
It is not relevant. It is only the fashion that has changed. The mustache fashion, for example, or the hair fashion was after Stonewall.
But how did Stonewall change?
It is not because of Stonewall. It is because some gay in the 70s thought that the effeminate gay was a stereotype, and then they wanted to show their masculinity with like Tom of Finland mustache and beard. In my opinion, it was maybe a mistake.
Why would you say that?
Because I don't think that it is good or bad to be masculine or effeminate. You are what you are. You can be masculine, effeminate. But in this period, maybe because they came from centuries where the effeminate man was seen as bad, they wanted a change, something different. They sell also special cream and what is this? Is a dildo or a candle?
That is the executive massager. It's a new larger size and it's stimulating. It's cordless. It's 9.5 inch, grip fast plastic, and it comes with replaceable batteries.
So is it like
Guaranteed.
dildo?
No, it's a executive massager.
Okay. Prostate massage.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I like massage like this.
Did they sell her bathing suit or no?
Yeah. Also for the female sometime. So they sell also this sort of merchandising. I call this the Fire Island style. You know Fire Island?
Maybe explain.
Fire Island was, and it is today also, the gay vacation place for New York queer people. It is an island near Long Island, and queer people from New York took the ferry from New York in the summer and went there. Okay, yeah. The disco music, the pop disco of the 70s, was born there in Fire Island. This is a very disco period catalog.
For sure.
Yeah. Also, this to go to the beach. And these sort of catalogs you can find also in the 80s and the 90s, but less. Really less.
And for you to have collected this one was to capture that idea of that moment of style. That
exactly, and the fact that there was a little bit ghetto market. I call ghetto market because it was a market especially studied for especially gay men, not for heterosexual generally, because it was not advertised nowhere. It was not advertised in normal magazine, only in queer magazine. We created a little bit ghettos in our past. Maybe to protect ourselves, but sometimes the protection of ourselves became a cage, a sort of cage. But it is interesting, just sociologically, to see which market they create. Yeah, commercial market.
Yeah,
they sell everything.
Yeah, it's got everything.
Yeah, and also, for example, yesterday I show you some pulp books. Some pulp books were homophobic, but other pulp books were created for gay men or lesbian or transgender. And there was this guild press that was based in Washington, D.C., that was a publisher which made books, comics only for lesbian, gay men, and transgender people only. And this is an example of a comics. Is the history of this guy, and he show how he dress, the place where he live. Grandmother. Also, sorry. And yes, it's funny, no, because he call mother and father not his really parents, but his small community. No, there is the mother in his gay community and the father in his community, which was real because many escape. Yeah, exactly. So they had to find another family, and this is the community. You can find this kind of situation in a movie that now has a there is a remake of this movie. The name is The Boys in the Band. I don't know. Is on Netflix also. It was a movie of 1970, but there was a remake 2 years ago. And you can see this kind of situation where there is a community, a lot of people that escape from home and they live in New York to find their freedom, and they live with all the friends. It happens today also in Italy. Some flirts. Funny thing is that the flirts, they depict very masculine, and themselves they depict very effeminate. This was a kind of stereotype that the gay generation of the 70s hated. So they preferred to be with mustache, with a masculine appearance. This is a gay bar. My God. This is a cruising in the park, a bathhouse, toilets. So it's the life of a gay man in the 60s. This movie is the first movie in Italy with a gay character as a main character.
Yeah.
Before there were some gay character, but in very small parts. And this movie is also the first to depict the gay life in Italy in a very realistic way. For example, it depicts the bathhouse, the cruising places, and never before happened in an Italian movie to show these places.
in fact, the movie was put only to people over 18 years. And funny thing is that one of the most famous actress in Italy, maybe you don't know, but the name was Franca Valeri, and she was very, very famous. She was the writer of the film, but she didn't want to appear, that her name appear
As a writer.
as a writer. Yeah. And also the main character, which is acted by Ugo Tognazzi. Ugo Tognazzi was a very famous actor, and he made years later the La Cage aux Folles. You know this movie, yeah. And this was the first experience for him with a gay character. And
Has he ever spoken about it?
about this movie,
Yeah, about the experience of having played a gay character.
that he liked a lot. He say because he liked everything that was against the morality. He liked to fight the conservative society. But we know that he was also bisexual, and so maybe he was sympathetic with these roles, also maybe for some personal reason.
And I understood that, or maybe I misunderstood, that there was discussion among the gay community about the feeling, on the one hand, proud of this achievement of their main
Absolutely,
character,
they hated this movie. They hated.
and the other ones as being killed.
Exactly, for this reason. But the fact is that okay, the main character is killed, so the end is not good. But there is no one moment when the director of the movie show the gay character in a bad way. The people that go to see this movie feel sympathetic with the main character. And it is the first time also, because before in Italy, the director show gay people or in a very, how can you say, very satirizing them in a very humoristic way, or they show them in a ugly way, that the people hate them. In this case, people like it. And the bad ending is because the director was a fan of the lyric theater, like Maria Callas, no? And he liked an ending like Madama Butterfly, like
Drama.
a drama. Yeah, exactly. This is the first gay man that is killed at the start of the movie, and this gay man was in the same situation that he fell after.
But he didn't know yet.
He didn't know. He didn't
Yeah.
know.
Also,
but-
the mafia killed him.
Yeah, the mafia. Yeah. the party are one of the best parts of the movie.
Because
Oh, because you see proud people, not sad people. And it is the first time in Italian movie that you see queer proud people.
enjoying themselves,
Yeah.
being themselves.
Yeah. Mhm.
Wonderful photographs also.
Yeah.
And these were to be used in the lobby.
Yeah, in the lobby, or they were sold to like merchandising of the movie. Merchandising could be poster or like these, for example. This is a poster of another movie, but of the same year. And it is funny because there is the same actor, Ugo Tognazzi, and doing again a gay character. And again, also in this case,
Yes.
there was also over the 18 years.
Which they put over his head.
Yeah, yeah.
And the one underneath is the yeah, that's beautiful.
This is of
Yeah.
the movie I have written the book about,
Yeah.
and it is a funny poster because in this poster they try to show the movie as a heterosexual movie. So maybe,
You mean him on the phone, not involved?
yeah, a very nice girl with bikini, you know. So people didn't feel embarrassed, no, to go to the cinema.
But they knew. Or maybe
No,
they would be
not all,
surprised.
not all, not all. Because the problem is that at first, the first poster were very direct, like this. But what happened? That not many people went to see the movie because they see that there was a gay character. They see in the poster also. So after, to see if they can attract more people, they make this other version.
Did it work? Was it
No,
well
no.
used?
No, it was a very, very totally a flop. Totally.
Critically as well as audiences.
Critically and also for the money, for
All
the
very-
public, disaster. Completely disaster. But 20 years later, the new LGBT movement rediscovered this movie. The LGBT movement of the 70s, 80s, but after they rediscovered. Thousands more.
But you found the collector who had
All these,
all these matches.
yeah, in Los Angeles.
And he didn't mind to get rid of them.
No, because he was quite old and he wanted someone to care about this material, and he was happy that I could take care.
Did he know about the rest of your collection also? How does that work? Do you speak to each other about?
By eBay.
But there is no other correspondence.
Only some like 10, 15 messages, but no, we never talk by telephone, for example. No, never.
So he wouldn't know what else you have, for example.
No. You know, a collector some year ago sent me this, which is a piece of concrete from Castro Street in San Francisco.
It's beautiful. As a gesture.
Eh?
As a gesture. From the Castro. It's a piece
From
of the Castro.
Yeah.
it's somebody who you were
I make trade.
corresponding with, the trade.
Yeah. He's the director of the San Francisco GLBT Museum. How many you want of a matchbook? I like this because of the socks.
Oh my God, there's a lot.
Oh, I have many. I am plenty.
Is there any order in each in the bags?
Luckily no. Luckily no. This is one of the things that I have to do when I will be a public archive.
Do you have any idea how you would order this?
Sure.
Like what?
Chronologically.
Huh?
I would like chronologically.
Why?
Because they change also the graphics. It depends from the period. This is for example, a classical example of 60s graphics. And this is 40s or 30s graphics.
And these graphics say
A different period for discrimination against queer people. In the 30s, maybe the clubs were all underground or just friendly, not explicit queer clubs. Then from the 60s towards, there were more explicit, more clubs that say, okay, we are queer, we are gay, we are, for example, this one is a graphics that show a fetish for socks and a macho, a Tom of Finland remembrance. So if you see this, you can think, okay, this maybe is a place where I can find a certain type of people. Other, you cannot, you don't know from the graphics.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes there were some places where there were some female impersonators, and the female impersonators show was also advertised, like here. But yet, there must be something that must be said. The female impersonators clubs were not only for queer people. Everyone went there because they liked to see the show of female impersonators. But queer people found a space in these places. This is a bathhouse.
Matches in a bathhouse.
The Liberty Baths in San Francisco. This is funny because of the name camp.
Wisconsin.
Sorry?
It's the state of Wisconsin.
Yes, yes. Maybe it was also not a queer club.
Ah.
Maybe. But I like the fact that there was camp.
Yeah.
This was a quite important queer club. This was the barracks, another important bathhouse. One closet. Not all has the mesh inside, even if they are closed.
Yeah, but that's okay.
This is not so nice. No.
A little boring.
Mhm.
Shame on the Moon. What a good name.
So you see from how much material I have, why I need to become public. Because if I take care me by myself, this material after some years become very not. I cannot take care of everything. Cannot. Impossible. I need someone who help me and some public institution money, maybe, because the material is too much.
Yeah, and too valuable.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that other archives don't have. For example, a lot of LGBT archive in Italy are focused on the activism, but they don't have like this kind of material.
How would you describe this material, like matches?
It's the social life.
Yeah.
It's the everyday life. Is for me has the same importance as politics, LGBT politics. Perhaps many of the people that went to these clubs were not activists, but they need to be remembered in the same way, I think.
And feel like they're part of a community while still being everyday.
Especially now, because now the experience of queer clubs maybe is going to an end because of there are a lot of apps, and people can meet in other way. They don't need to go to a LGBT bar to meet. So it's something to preserve.
There's a good chance that that kind of aspect of it, how it's changing, will not be kept. I mean, digitally, you can ask yourself if there will be any kind of register or
Where?
archive of the digital, the new way of meeting, the new social.
Yeah. I think there is no archive of it until now, but maybe there will be a. Yeah. Everything is worth to be archived.
I don't know where to begin.